This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some huge updates to share with you. Manchin and Schumer finally agree on the reconciliation bill, and that bill should drop later today. I'll give you more details on that. Also, I'll give you the number one reason why another fourth stimulus check could be on the table. Meanwhile, Mitch McConnell says not so fast. If the Build Back Better does get revived, there's going to be consequences. Speaking of stimulus, there's $200 checks going out to seniors, and Medicare for All is being pushed by Bernie Sanders. I'll play the video clip there. One economist says that we are in a recession at this moment. I'll give you some other more important updates as well. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced update, hit the like button down below. So let's start with the big news here. Schumer, Manchin agree on reconciliation bill. Is it finally happening? Well, Chuck Schumer is poised to submit the reconciliation bill to the Senate parliamentarian on Wednesday. Today, according to Punchbowl News, the text of the bill will reflect an agreement among all Senate Democrats on lowering prescription drug costs. So not sure if it's just for prescription drugs or is this part of the Build Back Better? Is it just a piece? Is it, we're not really sure what's going on here. So this is part of their plan to resurrect the Build Back Better bill. And it looks like Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer, after weeks of talking, are finally agreeing on something. Basically, a part of this bill is saying that the bill would allow Medicare to negotiate prices with pharmaceutical companies starting in 2023 and cap out-of-pocket costs for Medicare patients at $2,000 per year. So we're going to find out more details today of what this means. Is the Build Back Better coming? Is it going to be back? Are there going to be other stimulus provisions in it? Stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, Mitch McConnell on the revival of Build Back Better saying not so fast. So Mitch McConnell, being a staunch critic of it, is basically saying that if the Build Back Better comes back, there's going to be consequences. So he would tank the Bipartisan Innovation Act, which masquerades as a measure to maintain U.S. technology's edge over China. So kind of like the China Compete bill. Basically, what McConnell said is, let me be perfectly clear. There will be no bipartisan USICA, which is that China Compete bill, as long as Democrats are pursuing a partisan reconciliation bill, which is exactly what the Democrats are doing, which is going to have more gridlock and more conflict in Congress. Seems like there's enough problems there already, but I'll keep you updated on what happens with the big bill going through, whether there's stimulus provisions. Speaking of stimulus update, this is the number one reason another check could be on the table. So I'm going to play you a clip from an economist a little later on in the video, but basically a recession. A fourth check is more likely if the country enters into a recession. So a recession could even be worse than the pandemic itself. More people suffering financially and I guess suffering in general. So basically, why a recession could mean more stimulus money becomes available. If the U.S. were to fall into a recession, this could result in lawmakers providing another stimulus payment. There's a simple reason why a recession would make another payment more likely. Stimulus checks have been used in the past to respond to this type of economic downturn and are an effective tool for doing so. So, for example, 2001, the Bush administration took action in light of the recession that was ongoing at the time, providing $300 stimulus checks for adult tax filers. And in 2008, another recession occurred during the financial crisis, and President George W. Bush signed a bill into law that provided $600 for most individual taxpayers and $1,200 for married joint filers. So that was in 2008. Also, 2008 included a $300 per child tax credit. So during the last two recessions, 2001 and 2008, there were stimulus checks. And according to one economist, supposedly we're in a recession right now. I'll play you that video clip. But should there be more stimulus checks due to the recession or just in general? Let me know your thoughts on that. Yeah, it's pretty big news there. Then Andrew Yang thinks a recession is inevitable at this point, but doesn't think stimulus checks spurred inflation. So Andrew Yang, one of the biggest proponents for guaranteed income or universal basic income, where everybody gets a monthly check, just because. And what he was saying here is, this is a source of frustration for me. says of the question, arguing that stimulus checks were a relatively small component of the overall relief packages and that the lion's share went to businesses and local governments. It saddens me that people are blaming checks that were either spent or saved months and months ago for some of the things that we're experiencing now. So basically, Andrew Yang saying that stimulus checks were not the reason for it. Got a chart here giving some more info to back that up. And then also, when it comes to Medicare, so a new study just came out. Sorry, computer's a little slow today. Actually, no, sorry. One more thing before that. Eligible Onondaga County seniors set to receive a $200 stimulus payment. So $200 checks going out to seniors in Onondaga County, New York. So latest kind of stimulus payment right there. Still coming out on a county and state basis. So latest is Onondaga County, $200 for seniors. Now back to what I was saying before. So Medicare for All could have saved 338,000 lives during the pandemic. Basically, the study came out from Yale, so I guess it's pretty credible, talking about all the ways that Medicare for All could have saved a lot more lives. Take a look at this video clip right here from Bernie Sanders talking more about this study and how Medicare for All could have benefited a lot more people.
Medicare for All would have saved more than 500,000 lives over the course of the last 2 years. We compared age-specific elevated mortality risk for people without insurance compared to those with insurance for COVID-19 specifically and from all other causes of death overall. We wanted to understand why the US has a higher rate of COVID mortality than any other high-income country, even though we spend more than any other nation, both in terms of per capita costs and overall. We calculated that if our country had implemented Medicare for All prior to the emergence of the pandemic, more than 338,000 deaths from COVID alone would have been averted. And that's on top of the more than 160,000 lives that universal health care would have saved our country from other causes of COVID over the last 2 years.
It is an absolute disgrace that right now, 30% of Americans today delay going to a doctor or going to a hospital because they can't afford the bill.
So people who don't have insurance usually don't have a primary care doctor and are more likely to suffer from preventable diseases like diabetes. And such comorbidities exacerbate risks of COVID-19 mortality. People without insurance also tend to wait longer to seek treatment, which further compounds death and transmission rates. Surveys also confirm that most of the country does want universal health care, so it's not a question of the public being persuaded.
The question is a very simple one. Do you have a health care system whose primary function is to prevent disease, whose primary function is to provide quality care to all the people in the most cost-effective way? Is that where we go? Or is the function of the health care system to make billions of dollars in profits for the owners of large insurance companies? That's what the debate is about.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with Medicare for All? Good idea, bad idea? Let me know your thoughts. So former CEA chair explained how to fight inflation right now, basically saying that we are in a recession. So Kevin Hassett was the former chief executive advisor to former President Trump. Take a look at this clip right here explaining how we're in a recession right now. Take a look.
Well, the Atlanta Fed once again downgrading its GDP estimate, this time to 2.1%, negative 2.1%, raising concerns, of course, of an imminent recession. You saw the market react to it early on. It did turn around, which is a good thing. Dow still negative, NASDAQ very much positive. Joining me now to talk about all this is Kevin Hassett, former chair of the Council of Economic Advisors. Great to see you. By the way, you are author of The Drift. We've got to mention The Drift. This is Larry Kudlow's favorite book of all time, even including his own. Well, maybe not including his own, but The Drift, Stopping America's Slide to Socialism. Kevin, great to see you. Thank you for being here. Kevin,
Thanks,
even the Beltway crowd is now admitting it takes a while for things to break through the barrier, the intellectual barrier of inside the Beltway. But even now they are saying that there are no more whispers, recession talk surges in Washington. That's a Politico headline. So are they right? I mean, is a recession imminent?
Yeah, we're in a recession. Right now, it's virtually certain. As you know, I've been saying that we're in a recession for 2 or 3 months now. And the data are basically catching up with that. And, really, if you look at the personal consumption data that came out last week, they not only was it bad real consumption growth, for last month, but also they revised downward a lot of the numbers from before. And so what we've got now is, pretty much a lock that the second quarter is negative. The first quarter is negative, and 2 negative quarters is big negative as they are about to be, have never, ever happened since going back to the Second World War without it being a recession. And so, while the National Bureau of Economic Research will say they've got all these indicators they look at, you get 2 negative quarters, it's a recession every single time.
There was a guy
and so that means we're in a recession, and I think that the voters are going to notice, right? It's something that, right, as soon as that negative quarter comes out, about a month from now, then everybody's going to be admitting that we're in a recession. And I think at that point, if you think the Biden numbers are bad now, I have no idea what the bottom is for him.
Well, again, just to be clear, the organization that is the one that officially declares a recession has to wait for some other stats to come in. But you think 2 negative quarters, and even the media will come out and say we are now in a recession. And of course, how's that going to affect the elections? I mean, there's just no way a party in power that controls both houses in Congress and the executive can win a midterm with a recession, in the midst of a recession, is there?
Yeah, it's absolutely a double whammy for Democrats. And again, you're right, the National Bureau of Economic Research, which is a bunch of really great economists who study all the different data, and then they don't call it a recession until they're really, really sure. On average, since the Second World War, they've announced that we're in a recession after the recession was over. So the official call is going to be, gosh knows when. Right. But the numbers themselves are going to be visible to everybody very, very soon. And the thing that I actually like watching markets today, you guys had a great conversation about it before I came on. The one thing I think that markets don't understand is that inflation is out of control. If you look at in the PCE last week, the non-durable goods inflation was basically an annual rate around 25%. Oof. That's like groceries and gasoline and other things that you buy every day. And with inflation that high, the Fed has to keep hiking rates even though we're having a deep recession. It's one of the most difficult and challenging economies I've ever seen, and there's just no way that the Fed can pause and not give us multiple 3/4 point increases because inflation is so high, even with the weak economy.
Well, you mentioned consumption, and of course there's demand destruction going on. I think that's a large part of why we're in a recession if we're there already. But there's also these manufacturing numbers, and that's what gave the Atlanta Fed, I think, the feeling that they had to downgrade even further their prediction for what's going to happen in the second quarter.
Right, yeah, and don't forget that the numbers don't mean what you think they mean, because almost all the numbers are nominal. They're not adjusted for inflation, and prices are going up so fast right now that a number that used to be a good number, like a retail sales increase of 0.5, is actually negative consumption growth because the cost of those sales, the costs are going up faster. And so it's really a new time for data watchers, for Wall Street data watchers, one that we haven't seen going all the way back really to the early 70s, where it's hard to tell what the data mean because you don't know what's going on with prices, and you have to look at prices before you can judge the data. In fact, we're in a world, like here's a thing that's so strange about this world. Forever and ever, when you and I have been talking about the economy, the biggest news is the jobs report, right? But now the biggest news is the inflation report.
That's true.
And so there's going to be a jobs report, on Friday, and it's going to be a snoozer. It's going to be a snoozer because everything else is like baked in, including the high prices.
Well,
What are your thoughts on what he has to say? Do you agree, disagree? Are we in a recession? If we are in a recession, or if it's going to get worse, should there be more stimulus checks and stimulus provisions to help out struggling Americans? Let me know your thoughts on that. That is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, I'm going to give you the 5 positive tips to make you start your day and make you be positive and grateful as much as you can. So first, stay happy, stay strong, and have good vibes, and do great to others when they do great to you. And also, you know this one, be nice to others when you be nice to them. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your time and support. And if you appreciate how I get straight to the point, tell you the facts, no misleading or anything like that, show you the articles right there in front and the video clips, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, doing this on a daily basis so that you stay up to date with the truth of what's actually going on. And if you want to check out any of my other videos on my other channels, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.